Assalamualaikum dear students, I hope you are all doing well. We are moving on to the lecture number 3 of chapter number 7, that is Protists and Fungi. I am your biology instructor, Noshaba Gul from Army Learn How College for Girls, Abbottabad. Topics of today's lecture include Ascomycota, that is the sac fungi, their life cycle will be discussed, Basidiomycota, also known as club fungi, and importance of fungi will be discussed also. That includes plant diseases and animal diseases which are caused by fungi. Ascomycota is the first topic of today's lecture. They are also known as sac fungi because of presence of sac-like structures in which their sexual spores are produced, known as ascospores. Here you can see some of the ascomycetes, orange peel cup, and this pink type cup fungi. Ascomycota have many important features like the one of these shown here. Septate hyphae are found in these fungi, but the septa are not complete. They are perforated, means the compartments are connected with each other through the openings in their cross walls, and so streaming movement of cytoplasm can take place between the adjacent compartments or cells. Sexual reproduction occurs through asci or si, and singular is ascus. So a sac-like structure in which ascospores are produced. Asexual reproduction is very common, and it is through the production of conidia. Conidia are dusty spores which are produced directly on the tips of hyphae known as conidiophores. No sporangia are formed in Ascomycota. The color of conidia gives the name to the molds included in Ascomycota. So the color may be brown, blue, pink, or any other. Sporangia were found in the Zygomycota, but no such structure in case of Ascomycota. Unicellular ascomycete is yeast in which asexual reproduction occurs by budding and fission. And the fruiting body found during sexual reproduction is called ascocarp. Ascocarps can have different shapes and different types of ascomycetes. Cup shape in cup fungi, with flask-shaped in molds, stalked and crowned with bell-shaped structure in morels. And examples. Important plant parasites include powdery mildew, which causes powdery patches on the leaves of plants. Saprobes are also known. Saprobes mean saprotrophs, which feed on dead organic matter, which cause the destruction of different organic materials. Yeast or yeast, that is the Saccharomyces, is an important component. Decomposers, pathogens are also included, and ascomycetes are also found as a partner in lichens. Lichen is an mutually beneficial association between an alga and a fungus. So we'll study about them later on. Here you can see diversity among the sac fungi, cup-shaped. These are conidia visible, and as a penicillium, the morels, truffles. Truffles are very expensive sac fungus, as it is especially used as a delicacy in France, and it is found underground, and it is searched with the help of specially trained dogs and pigs. Further diversity, you can see Neurospora, pig bread mold, very important organism in research and genetics, especially penicillium, especially the source of the wonder drug penicillium, the first antibiotic ever discovered. Yeasts, which generally reproduce by budding. These are single-celled and they are adapted to liquids. Now we will move on to the life cycle of Ascomycota, how it reproduces asexually as well as sexually. Here you can see this is the asexual reproduction, which is through the production of conidia. This is the mycelium, which is composed of hyphae. These hyphae, their tips develop into conidiophores, and these conidiophores then form conidia at the tips. These conidia are produced asexually and they are haploid spores. And so on germination, they again give rise to the mycelium. What is mycelium? It is the body of the fungus. Now about the sexual reproduction, you can see this is the step 1. Two types of hyphae are visible. Here they are shown in two colors. This is the mycelium composed of red, and the other one is shown with blue nuclei. These two types of hyphae are named as plus mating types and the minus mating types, as no different sexes are visible in these organisms. So we cannot say that it is male or female hyphae. Instead, we use the term plus mating type and minus mating type. And I told you in the previous lecture that in the topic on Zygomycota, there's these two mating types they differ in certain genetic characteristics. So from these two types of hyphae, that is plus and minus mating types, two structures grow. These hyphae, these are special hyphae, and one is known as Ascogonium. This is the female structure, and Anthridium, which is the male structure. And so a kind of tube appears between the two, which connects the two hyphae, and so the nuclei which gather in the Anthridium as well as Ascogonium, they come together to lie in the tip of the Ascogonium, and here they form pairs. Before this, the mycelium was monokaryotic, means each compartment contained just one nucleus, so one nucleus per cell. So this was the monokaryotic stage, and after the fusion of cytoplasm along with the flow of nuclei, it resulted in the formation of a stage which is known as the dikaryotic stage, because the hyphae develop from this Ascogonium, which results in the formation of ascocarp, and these all hyphae have two nuclei per compartment or per cell. So one nucleus from the Ascogonium and the other from Anthridium. So this is the next stage, which is dikaryotic stage, and we describe it as n plus n. We symbolize as n plus n, and so here nuclei are not fused yet, and that's why we call this process as plasmogamy. Plasmogamy means fusion of cytoplasm only. Nuclei come to lie together. They remain together as pairs in each cell of the hyphae, but they are not fused. That's why we do not say that they are diploid. Instead, we use the term dikaryotic, means having two nuclei. Now, within the ascocarp, you can see the dikaryotic hyphae. They, after some time, when they get maturity in the ascocarp, the tips of the hyphae, they begin to produce ascus or asci. Ascus is initially dikaryotic, and this ascus is a sac-like structure. Within this ascus, nuclei fuse, and so this process is called karyogamy, that is the fusion of nuclei. This fused nucleus is now diploid. Now ascus is diploid. Its fused nucleus, that is zygote, which is now diploid, it undergoes meiosis to produce 4 haploid ascospores, and this division is followed by a mitotic division within each ascus. So there is a large number of asci produced in an ascocarp, and you can see within one ascus there are now 8 ascospores. 4 were produced as a result of meiosis, and each underwent a mitotic division to form 2. So in total there are 8 ascospores. Each of these 8 ascospores, they are liberated from the ascus, and then they may germinate to produce the fresh mycelium again. So here in this way the cycle repeats itself. This is again that same life cycle. Ascomycetes also shown in this slide. Now about Basidiomycota, that is club fungi. The name club fungi is because of the reproductive structures, which are basidia, and they are club-shaped structures within which, or at the tip of which actually, basidiospores are produced, which are the sexual spores of this phylum of fungi. Hyphae are septate in this case also, but the septa are perforated again, just like Ascomycota. And sexual reproduction involves production of Bisidiocarp, that is the fruiting body. It was Ascocarp in case of Ascomycota, but here it is Bisidiocarp, which bears club-shaped basidia. That gives the name to this phylum. So basidiospores are produced through meiosis. Asexual reproduction is not so common, but when occurs, it is by the production of conidiospores through mitosis. Dikaryotic stage is very long-lived in case of Basidiomycota, but it was relatively short-lived in case of Ascomycota. Rusts and smuts are the plant parasites included, which affect the cereal crops like wheat and corn, rice, etc. Mushrooms, polypores, puffballs, bolete and bird's nest fungi, etc. These are different examples of Basidiomycota. Enzymes decompose wood, leaves, and other organic materials. So decomposers are included, pathogens are included, and just like Ascomycota, some of the Basidiomycota also form mycorrhizal association with the plants. Ascomycota form association with algae in case of lichens, especially, whereas Basidiomycota form association with the roots of higher plants to increase their surface area for absorption of nutrients from soil. Here you can see the mushroom is given here. These are the gills or septa, and at the edges of the gills you find these club-shaped structures known as basidia. At the tip of each basidium, 4 basidiospores are visible, which are produced as a result of meiosis. This is stalk or stipe, this is girdle or annulus, ring-like structure, this is the cap or pileus. This is mushroom, you can see. Especially it is common in the rainy season, as is the case these days. So here again the structure of mushroom, which is Basidiomycete. So this is the fruiting body, that is Basidiocarp, and it develops from the dikaryotic hyphae. We will discuss in the life cycle. So these are the examples. Bracket fungi, they are growing over the bark of the trees, so they decompose the wood material. Puffballs are visible. Mushrooms, deli fungi, these are all good. This is the life cycle of Basidiomycota. Again, you see the stage 1 is here. This is the mycelium having 2 types of mating types, plus and minus, just like Ascomycota, and the tips or the two branches from both of the one branch from both of types of the hyphae, they grow towards each other to unite, and the original mycelium is known as primary mycelium, and it is monokaryotic. As you can see, one nucleus per compartment is visible. In each cell there is only one nucleus. So this is primary mycelium or monokaryotic. The hyphae from both mating types fuse to form a dikaryotic stage, and this is known as secondary mycelium. This secondary mycelium is highly branched, and it forms dikaryotic mycelium. As you can see, male and female nucleus visible in each compartment. This dikaryotic mycelium grows profusely underground, and it then develops into this stalked mushroom-like structure, which is known as Basidiomycota. So this is dikaryotic stage, that is N plus N and not 2N. It's a lengthy stage. Underground part may extend up to kilometers. So just generally they grow near the roots of the plants, higher plants, and many form association with the mycorrhizal association with the roots of higher plants. Here you can see a portion which is magnified. These are the gills or the septa which are present on the underside of the mushroom cap, and this is the magnified portion of gill. At the edge of each gill you find these club shaped structures. So the walls of these hyphae which form basidia, they are separated from the rest of the mycelium, and so they separate the basidia from the rest of the basidium because nuclei, both male and female nuclei, are present in each basidium. So basidia are here in dikaryotic stage. Now karyogamy occurs. Before that it was plasmogamy, when the monokaryotic hyphae fuse together to form dikaryotic hyphae, whereas in this stage the karyogamy occurs inside the basidia or these club-shaped reproductive structures. So the fusion of nuclei results in the formation of zygote, which is now diploid. This diploid nucleus undergoes meiosis to produce 4 haploid nuclei in each basidium. From each basidium, 4 basidiospores are pinched off as the nuclei move to the tip of each basidium, and then they are budded off or pinched off, and then they are dispersed into the air, and on finding suitable condition they again grow into the plus and minus types of mycelia and may repeat the cycle again. So here you can see highly magnified figure. So these 4 basidiospores are visible. They are connected by connected to the basidia. Now about the importance of fungi. Fungi have different aspects with respect to the rest of the living organisms. They have both beneficial aspects as well as harmful aspects. Beneficial aspects include they are used in baking, brewing, they are used as organisms in genetics research. They produce antibiotics. They are components of lichens, mycorrhizae. These are mutually beneficial associations. Many fungi are edible. They especially provide protein food. Ecological impacts are also very important, as many of them are decomposers, so they help in recycling of nutrients. Harmful aspects include especially their pathogenic role, since many fungi they cause diseases in plants as well as animals. Now, what is the use of fungi in baking? One example is the amylase enzyme from fungi that is used to increase the sugar content in the bread preparation. A kind of yeast, that is Saccharomyces cerevisiae, is used for raising of flour for baking. Fungi are also used in brewing, and brewing is the wine production. And the species most important are Saccharomyces cerevisiae and Saccharomyces carbonensis. Fungi are also used in genetics research. Examples are yeast, which is used in the study of molecular genetics of eukaryotes, and recently one complete chromosome have been made in the Saccharomyces cerevisiae, and its genome has been sequenced completely for the first time in any eukaryote. Neurospora pink bread mold is especially a very common research organism in genetics research. So in 1996, yeast, that is Saccharomyces cerevisiae, was sequenced for its genome for the first time. Now, the source of antibiotics, different fungi are important source of fungi. The first antibiotic ever, that is penicillin, which was also named as the wonder drug, that is obtained from Penicillium chrysogenum. Cyclosporines are obtained from Tulipocadium inflatum, that is a soil fungus, and it is used for the prevention of organ transplant rejection. Griseofulvin is obtained from Penicillium nigricans to inhibit fungal growth, means an antifungal antibiotic. Fungi are also important components of lichens. And what are lichens? Lichens are mutualistic symbiotic organisms. That means that they have mutually beneficial association between a fungus and an alga. There are three lichen growths forms which are predominant in nature. You can see crystose, foliose, and fruticose type. You will study about them in the second year. So this is crust like you must have seen on the barks of large woody trees. Here is the longitudinal section of a lichen, which shows here that the algae is protected between the fungal hyphae. So this is the lower portion, and this is the upper cortex, lower cortex. In between, the algae are visible on the, especially on the upper side, and algae are here shown as green in color, and they are used for photosynthesis, whereas the fungal hyphae provide nutrients to the algae. So mutually beneficial associations. The spores produced by lichens are called as soridia. You can see soridia, the asexually productive part of lichen, which contain both symbionts, fungus, and algae. Algae are generally green algae or cyanobacteria, that is blue-green algae, whereas fungi may be uh, Ascomycetes generally, and sometimes Basidiomycetes. So you can see here a structure labeled rhizines, which are used to anchor the lichen into the substratum. Now, the next mutually beneficial association is mycorrhiza. The literal meaning of the term is fungus roots, as the hyphae of fungus provide or function as roots to higher plants. So it is mutualism between fungus which is used for the absorption of nutrients and water uptake for the higher plants. And plant provides carbohydrate for fungus. Several kinds of mycorrhizae are found. Zygomycota, the first group of fungi, that its hyphae invade root cell, whereas Ascomycota and Basidiomycota hyphae invade root but don't penetrate the cells. So they have a very extremely important ecological role. Since the tall plants cannot obtain sufficient nutrients through their root hair only, so in nature this mechanism has been introduced for the benefit of tall trees. So mycorrhizae, here you can see the roots and the roots of higher plants as well as the hyphae of fungi. Mycorrhizae are of two types depending upon the extent to which they penetrate into the root cells. This is ectomycorrhizae and endomycorrhizae. Ectomycorrhizae are especially, these are interwoven hyphae present outside the root, and they are extended far into the underground part. This is the endomycorrhizae. Here hyphae penetrate the root cells and they may form knobs or bunches, and these are very helpful in the absorption and the transfer of nutrients from the soil to the root cells. And within the root, especially the outer cortical cells, cells of the cortex, they are invaded by this endomycorrhizae. So endomycorrhizae are far more common. They are also used as food. You can see truffles, morels, and mushrooms. Roquefort cheese, edible mushrooms, and these are the truffles, a delicacy, especially in France. There are poisonous mushrooms too. That is given on the page number 194 of your book, in which the names of different poisonous mushrooms are given. So Amanita is a very poisonous mushroom, and its two species are especially very common. That is the destroying angel, that is Amanita virosa, and the death cap, which is Amanita phalloides. Eating a single mushroom of either species can be fatal. So these are associated with the production of alpha-amanitin, which works by slowly attacking RNA polymerase and enzyme in the liver. So it results in the failure of liver, and it must be cured by liver transplant. Otherwise, death may occur. So they are also acting as parasites of wood. Bracket fungus is an example. So it decomposes wood. Hemlock varnish shelf fungus, just like a shelf, so that's why the name is given. Ecological impacts of this group of living organisms are very important. Ecosystems depend on fungi as decomposers, and decomposers are very important since they are involved in the recycling of nutrients which are otherwise bound in the complex organic form in the soil and would not be available to the plants as nutrients. So very important role. They provide ecosystem with inorganic nutrients essential to plant growth. They recycle carbon, nitrogen, and other elements that otherwise would be tied in organic matter. Their structure suits function, that is, hyphae are invasive, means they attack the tissues of dead organic matter, dead plants or dead tissue that is invaded by the hyphae, which are saprotrophic hyphae, and so in this way they are then decomposed into inorganic form. Enzymes are released externally, so exoenzyme word is used here. They can hydrolyze different polymers including cellulose and lignin. These are complex carbohydrates. As decomposes again, you can see spoilage of food, very harmful aspect of this phylum. So the ceilings, these you can see the fungus on the ceilings on different items. Pathogens, fungal pathogen, about 30% of fungi are parasites, mostly of plants. Wheat rust, Dutch elm disease, that is, these are caused in plants. Some secrete toxins which are harmful to humans, like Aspergillus secretes aflatoxin, that stands for Aspergillus flavus toxins. So the name of the species is here. It is used to name the toxin. So aflatoxins are carcinogenic. The term carcinogenic means they cause cancer in the affectees. Claviceps purpurea secretes ergoton rye. It causes gangrene, hallucinations, etc. So skin diseases like athlete's foot, ringworm, respiratory illnesses from inhaled spores, coccidiomycosis, histoplasmosis, etc. They may be caused. This name is not given in your book, so you can see histoplasmosis that is given in the book that affects the lungs. As plant pathogens, here you can see the pinkier rot of corn. Uh, this is affected by powdery structure. These are basically the spores of the fungus. Powdery mildew, which is caused by Ascomycetes. So white powdery patches on leaves that destroy the leaf and in this way destroy the plant. Chestnut blight. So this tree is highly affected by this fungus. Dutch elm disease again. This elm tree that is affected by this fungus. Brown rot that may affect different plants. Here cherry is shown affected with this brown rot. Brown rot may also attack peach, plum or apricots. This is the disease caused by the Basidiomycetes, smuts and rusts, and as the name indicates, smuts are the sooty spores, whereas the rusts are the rusty spores. Rust affects the vegetative parts of the cereal crops, whereas the smut affects the reproductive parts, that is flower, fruit, seeds, etc. So sooty or black spores are produced in case of smut. Now about human skin diseases. Ringworm, this is a common fungal disease and it can be caused by the same organism that causes athlete's foot or other organisms, and so the skin is eaten by the parasite. So here you can see in this animal, this is ringworm, here you can see ringworm, and that is also given in your book. So the species name is Microsporium odonii, but the species may vary in different types of organisms. And athlete's foot is caused by Tinea pedis or sometimes by Trichophyton rubum. It lives within and eats outer skin layers of the foot. Especially its name is given because of the reason that mostly athletes they suffer from this problem because of the continuous wearing of shoes due to which moisture is retained, and moist warm conditions are very suitable for the growth of fungi. Candidiasis is an infection of the mucous membrane of mouth and vagina due to a kind of yeast whose name is Candida. So candidiasis is that infection. Ergotism is caused by purple ergot rye and it causes nervous spasms, convulsions means fits may occur, gangrene means destruction of a part, and psychotic delusions means that means the unshaken belief in something that isn't true or based on reality. But that doesn't mean that the individual suffering from these delusions they are completely unrealistic. But their beliefs are actually generally mistaken perceptions. For example, like they imagine that they are being followed or poisoned or deceived or conspired against, etc. Histoplasmosis is the lung infection of caused by a fungus, and you can see different vital organs may be affected due to the inhalation of spores of the soil fungus. With this, we come to the end of this chapter. I hope you understand the topics well, and if you find any difficulty, please do tell us through your respective WhatsApp groups. So, thank you for your attention, and we'll discuss the exercise in the next lecture. And inshallah, you'll be given a test also. So, be prepared and be regular. Allah Hafiz. Good luck for your test.